Why, hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the community recap stream. I'm very excited to be back here on the stream on this gloomy little Friday, wherever you're joining us from. If you're new here, my name is James Bonanno, and I am a professional video editor, filmmaker, photographer, content creator, and educator here on Adobe Live and inside the Adobe Live community. Welcome, everyone, to the stream. Let's get things rolling here. What is up? Umacorn, Wade, Sean, the whole gang is here, ready to dive into an awesome, very laid back, kind of chill Friday. If you, again, are joining us for the first time, this is the sort of recap stream where any question is encouraged and valid, and I really want to just make this as open and sort of informative as possible. Over the last couple of weeks in January, I was doing the weekly creative challenge inside of Premiere Pro. We talked a lot about Mogrts, we talked about Reels, TikToks, creating some really compelling video content. And today, over the next hour, we are just gonna have fun in Premiere. We're gonna recap some of the things we talked about over the last month. And again, just keep those open to questions. I'm here to answer those. I want to answer those questions and anything that you have on your mind. Please feel free to let us know in the chat. Sean, has James become a caddy? Yes, I'm also wearing my little vintage Masters hat. Let me know in the chat if I should never wear this again or you're digging it. I don't know. I have this weird thing about vintage hats. My wife really does not like this hat. She just popped in a few minutes ago and basically told me to take it off, and I am boycotting and I'm wearing it. So I'm a big golfer around here, and I also think it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a goofy, cool hat. I also didn't really have the time to do my hair, so that's the real secret here. That being said, I just want to show everyone, again, little intro into who I am and why I'm here. Sean, you're digging it. I like it. Jack, what do we think? Are we liking this? Are we liking this caddy hat or what? All right. So we're just going to cut over to my screen here. Again, this is me. I'm here, but I'm also here on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. I've been really making an effort over the last 6 months to share more of my information, more of my tips that I not only teach here on Adobe Live, but just some professional tips that I have from being in the industry for the better part of 10, 11 years, working professionally as an editor, as a filmmaker, and I really feel the need to just want to share that with the community, with everybody here. So if you head over to my Instagram account, you'll see that there's a lot of similar things that we're going to be talking about today on the recap that you might have seen over the last month. So yeah, shoot me a message over here, and I am on TikTok as well, newly on TikTok. So all my time is now spent doom scrolling and being inspired by other creators, such as life. And yeah, we are just going to sort of, today, like I said, is going to be very chill, very relaxed, as you can tell by my outfit and demeanor. It's a Friday. We're into February, and I am just going to have fun sort of going through Premiere and editing a project that I just sort of wrapped up yesterday. And then what I'd like to do is, again, if we have questions in the chat throughout the day here, Umacorn, you're okay with it. James Content. Hey, Ev. What's up, man? My brother-in-law, Evan McNaught, in the chat. If you don't follow him on Behance, you are just missing out on some amazing work. He had an incredible stream, which I have still not had time to watch. Ev, I'm sorry, but I heard it was a killer success, I think on Tuesday. Amazing illustrator, designer, map designer, just an all-around great guy. Very lucky to have him in the chat here today. Ev, what do you think of this hat? I know we've had some hot debates, so I'm rocking it today to see what we think. All right. So why don't we just get started? Again, please, any question you have. It doesn't have to be like Premiere related specific. It could be production related. It could be camera related, just gear in general, industry tips, you name it. Please let me know. All right, so let's hop back over to the thing here. All right, so again, I'm gonna just sort of talk through working on this. This is sort of like an additional bonus stream too. If there are no questions and you don't have specific burning desires to know anything, I'll probably just sort of go through some of this edit as if I was editing it and maybe talk through some of my thoughts on, why I made certain decisions and how to continue to elevate my work. In this case, you can't really see it behind me here, but Let me mute this. This is my audio. Let's actually turn this off. And if anyone missed, I don't remember which week we talked about it, but I talk about Pancake editing while we're here. I'll bring that up as well and sort of discuss what that is. Hey, Bruce. Good to see you. Becoming McNaughty Live. Yeah, Sean, we got the whole McNaught crew over on Adobe Live, honestly. Let's get rid of me. You guys don't want to see that. Don't know why that accent decided to come out, but maybe it's the hat. Maybe it's the caddy hat. So typically what I like to do when I'm editing a lot of footage is do something called pancake editing. So when you open up your like workspace, again, we've talked about this in the past, but you have all your different workspaces here, right? Your captions and graphics, your assembly tab. I actually tend to, especially when I'm shooting vertically, I tend to come in here and start in like my assembly tab because I get a much bigger window here to kind of add my footage and, you know, be able to look through what I need to pull the proper selects and then start that project. So I usually start in here. Again, you've seen this before. But again, like we're here to try to hit on some of the same things and talk about video editing, talk about making films because man, it's awesome. I love my job. I truly do. I love being able to create, you know, every day when I'm feeling inspired enough to do so. And again, from this community, I'm always inspired. So, you know, what I like to do is I create my project bin and my window here. And what we talked about at some point, again, I can't fully remember, is you can actually save this as a template. So if I come up here and I save this project as a template, it's going to save it with all of the audio that I have in here. But you could save this as like you could just call it go to project organization. Also, hot take in the editing world, who here is like an all caps project organizer or a like case sensitive? I know that's like a very weird thing, but I've worked with editors before that use all caps. I did use all caps, but I don't know, it was kind of bothering me. So now I'm back to the normal thing here. So if we opened up a new project, oops, let's just go new project. Okay. What we can do now is we can come into the project template and you'll see that my go-to project organization is already saved here. So this allows you to, again, to just speed up the workflow. You don't have to add folders every single time you come into Premiere. It's a really, really easy way to do this. And again, I did a video on this on my Instagram. I believe this was in the newer release last year. So if you've never seen this before, now you're seeing it. And then you can come in here and you can start and save your file. All right, but for this case, we're just going to start in here. Again, what is this accent I got going on? I don't know what it is. It's coming out. It's coming out. All right, everybody, yeah. All right, so once I'm in the assembly tab, this is how I organize all the footage. And actually, here's a little tip that I just learned from fellow Adobe producer Paco. This is an awesome little tip. If you highlight all of your clips in your window, you know, there's a couple ways that you can actually view your footage. So you can go here to your different viewers, and then you can come in here and you can look at the current viewer, and then you can just scrub through here and create your in and out points. That's one way to do it. So definitely a way that I've done it in the past. But what you can also do, which is kind of cool, again, shout out to Paco. I don't know if you're in here or not, but you can highlight all the clips that you want to bring up in the source window. And if you're on a PC, I think it's Control, but on a Mac, you just press Command O. Oops. Did I not do that right? Command O, Control O. Oh, man. Now I don't know if that's right. Let's see. Let's see if we can get that to work. Whoops. Command O. Huh. Thought that's what it was. Let me see here. Because I really want to show that it's kind of a cool way to like customize your like source window, which is pretty sweet. So let me just see real quick. I know I had an example over here that I'm going to pull up because it was really cool. And let's see.
How to make a rough cut fat row. There's a bunch of clips here on your media panel. We can highlight all the clips and then do the shortcut Shift O.
Shift O. There we go. I knew it was something with O. Cool. There we go. All right. So what that did is it actually pulled these all up into your window here. So let's go back to assembly so we can see this a little bit better. So again, footage, highlight all the footage, and Shift O. And then this will now bring up every single one of these clips just in your source window. And I'm using the page up, page down tool to basically scroll through each of these. Another really like quick kind of shortcut and a way to do that. And then if you want to customize and set these, set these to your keyboard shortcuts, you're going to go into the keyboard shortcut window. Again, we've talked about this a little bit as well, but anything that you want to customize that makes your life a little bit easier, that you can kind of fly through it, is going to be here in the keyboard shortcut window. So we're going to go to the production panel and move selection page up, move selection page down. And I just have page up and page down on my keyboard, and that'll basically go through all that footage there. And then you can set your in and out points like you would anywhere else, that I and O in and out point. Okay. So, all right, let's just roll through what I got going on here. So if I play this back, we're gonna go back to our vertical window. This is a video that I just finished yesterday, I believe, and you can't see it behind me. But over here, we got a little studio setup where I've been trying to experiment more with some flat lay, some top downs, just some lighting techniques to really push myself as a filmmaker and as a creator. Creating for social media is no longer this, I mean, as everyone has probably seen with the trends, is no longer this like half-ass way of creating. While that is okay to do, there's a lot of work that goes into just creating a short form piece of content. So I'm gonna play some of this back. Here are the camera accessories you don't want to buy, but will always need. I don't know. Is anyone else getting a little sleepy listening to that and feeling the vibes? I wanted to do something a little bit different that was more heavily focused on the really subtle sound design of what I was doing here rather than the music. So if we double click on the music here, you can kind of see I have a lot of layers going on here. Even just for that video, we have our titles here stacked. If I expand that, Shift plus, Shift minus, will expand the canvas for you. And then I'm just gonna, or the window here. And then you can just kind of scroll up. And I have like two different Mogrts that I've created here. The first one is very simple. There's no movement. It's just like two text files. But if I minimize this and I pull the bottom one up, I actually have a kind of a different treatment, which has a bit more of like a wiggle effect, which we did talk about last week on the stream. And I don't know, the wiggle effect to me was kind of a little bit jarring and distracting. So what I did is rather than have to like recreate everything, I went into After Effects, which is where I created this motion graphics template. Okay, we talked about this last week, so this is kind of a recap of that. And what I did is I actually turned off an effect here. So if I go up to my effects controls, you can see that this displacement map, and if you guys have questions in here and you want to learn how to do this whole wiggle effect because you missed last stream, we can certainly jump into it and recreate it. We have a good 40 minutes here. All right, so if I turn this back on, you'll see that I now have that wiggle effect on just the camera. Again, you can come here and do the same thing for each one of those. Maybe we want the wiggle effect to just go on the two first texts. And the nice thing is that even though we left that effect on it, we could essentially just re-export the motion graphics template that we've already created, right? So we've already gone in here and done the work of creating the parameters that we wanted with the source text, with the properties, position, scale, all that good stuff. And we don't have to now like recreate that Mogrt because it's pulling from this this primary composition, and then we just re-export it again as like a no wiggle title. And so if I open up Premiere and I go into my captions and graphics, I'm gonna get a little water here. A little bit of water. I never hurt anyone. we go into captions and graphics, you can see that I now have the stacked wiggle titles and I have stacked no wiggle titles. So now I have 2 Mogrts by just creating one sort of feature. All right. And the nice thing about these Mogrts, again, I'm going to click in here. I like to create sort of enough text and a long enough handle and time where I don't have to like cut this. So I might only use this for 2 seconds, but I like to create a template that has about a 10-second or longer window. So if I go back into After Effects, again, we're jumping around a little bit here. You can see that I have about, this is almost like a 15-second template that I don't have to then cut apart inside of Premiere. Yeah, so that's a little bit about sort of like my decision of using these Mogrts. And again, going back to what I've said kind of all month about the consistency of branding, the consistency of creating a look in your videos that you want people to sort of know you by. I like just this pop of yellow. I think it stands out a lot on a page. I think hopefully it stops people in their tracks and wants them to watch more. I'm just gonna check something real quick. Make sure we're looking good. Yeah. Yeah. Please, any questions, guys? I am going to keep on talking because that's what I do best and keep on rolling. But I really encourage anyone to ask any questions. We can start a project from scratch. We can pull up something else. But this is a project, again, I'm working on. So we'll just kind of work on this together. So the idea with this is I really wanted to make something like kind of ASMR camera style. So a lot of these clips here, and we are in the Premiere Pro beta version, which so powerful. I did a video on this the other day, but let's talk about it real quick. Let's talk about some of these features that allow me to use this, the sound design from a lot of these like clips. So if I mute the audio or if I mute the music, just so we can hear what's going on. Very subtle, right? Like very subtle sound. And you can see here what it's done. Let's open up our audio properties because this is really cool. Where's audio? So what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to use the enhanced speech tool, which is a really powerful tool in the beta version that Premiere released last year. And they've put so much more work into creating some audio features that just are a lot more efficient inside of Premiere Pro. These handles, these like interactive handles, not only do they look better than they did before, they're much easier to use in between clips rather than like right click and adding that default transition. You can still do that, but you can just drag this out. You can, create handles just on the first part of the transition. And then you have all this like AI audio category tagging that's happening right here inside of the beta version. So you can see here, Premiere automatically recognizes that my voice over here, I and out, let's solo that property. Here are the camera accessories you don't want to buy, but will always need. Okay. They already know that I am, that's dialogue. That's something that they want to give me presets and adjustments for. And so what you'll notice is if I click this, and I look at my dialogue on the right-hand side, this already gives me like pre-wired presets to change. So you have these presets, I can change it where it sounds like I'm on a radio. Let's try that. Here are the camera accessories you don't want to buy, but will always need. Sick. That's pretty cool. I sound like I'm in like a submarine somewhere in the 1920s. I don't know, on like an old school radio. How does that sound? That sounds kind of cool. Alrighty, let's see. So let's just try another one of these presets. Let's see how we're doing. So from the telephone. Here are the. Oh my God, that is loud. Here are the camera. Okay, we don't want that. That's not too good. So you can kind of change these presets. Let's just leave it at default, and you'll notice that in doing that, you'll see the like EQ down here changing. So then you can come in here, you can change it to like intercom. Accessories you don't want to buy, but will always need. Such a cool feature. This has existed part in certain aspects inside of Adobe Audition, but to have it all inside of Premiere Pro and really give yourself a chance to tweak your audio the best you can is pretty amazing. So background voice, you can change it to a podcast voice. Here are the camera accessories you don't want to buy, but will always need. I don't necessarily like that. I feel like that feels too echoey. It feels like I'm kind of like in some weird place. So we're gonna go to default. All right. So the reason I bring that up is I have all this camera audio. So if I solo all the audio that I actually captured when filming this, again, this is a top-down shot here in the office. So I wanted to make sure I was still recording some really nice audio. And so the way I did that, there's a couple ways. You can either mount, an external microphone to the table. You can, clip the table and moving it up and down. That gave me the best audio. In hindsight, I probably should have clipped it here because I was doing so much with my hands up top here. But in any case, it recorded that audio directly on my clip. And so what I've actually done is I went through and I changed all of the all the factors, like all the category tags. And so you can see that this is the way that Premiere saw this. It saw it as ambience. And if I click this, it's going to give us a lot of different presets and different sort of parameters than our dialogue did. So we can set presets to like room ambience. We could set it to wind. You can add ducking, so you can, change the sensitivity of that ambience. So you can do a lot there. But what I wanted to do is I wanted these clips to almost be like dialogue because I wanted to enhance that speech, remove some of that like noisy room tone that comes from a microphone not being close enough to its subject, and then go through and enhance it so I got this really crispy audio. So what I did, like if we play this one, oops, we're soloing this. Here are let's remove the in and out points right here. So you can hear like this gaff tape or gaffer tape, whatever, has this really nice sound to it. So what I did is I went in here, I clicked on the category and I cleared the audio type, and then it auto tags for you, but then you can decide which one you want to tag it at. So tagging this at dialogue, if I play this back, that's pretty nice, but it sounds too loud for me. Like if I bring the handle up, we can boom. That's really loud. I wanted this to be subtle and do its thing. So you can pull the bar down, no problem, or you can come in here to enhance speech, and this is actually going to help you to just make that little sound pop a little bit more. So we enhance that speech, and if I play that back, and then I pull the handle down, I have just a really subtle sound effect moving forward. So I did that with every one of the clips on my timeline here, and then when there was some sort of like empty spaces, if I solo this here, where I didn't really have a sound, I wanted to beef that up a little bit and add in additional sound effects. So let's drag this down. Another awesome feature, shift minus, is the waveforms are now automatically on your audio clip. So if I press, like if I were to pull this down, you can see the waveforms automatically. In the previous version of Premiere Pro and the current live one, you have to right click in here and you have to say, which keyframes you want to show, like whether you want to show no keyframes or you want to show the volume. And the nice thing is now you can actually add effects right in here and it'll pull this up to your effects panel window. So a lot of cool little features going down here. I need a little water. A little bit of water. Who wants to know about color correction? I feel like we never really got into color grading, and I kind of want to do that a little bit today. So let's play this back. So you can hear like this really nice sound of a marker or a pen. That was something that I found and sourced. We have another one here. I don't know what this is actually. Let's keep going down the line. This is kind of cool. I mean, like you can find sound effects. One of the things I like to do is source sound effects that aren't necessarily the effect that you would hear. In this case, it's like, how can we add a sound effect to this? I'm not really doing anything with it, but maybe there's like that jiggling of the, what is this called? A screw, thank you, a tripod plate. So maybe there's like a metal clank or something like that, just to amplify and beef up that sound design, okay? If we keep going forward, You know, you can kind of hear this. This is like some tapping on glass or something, which could be the sound that you might hear inside of that little like micro item box. So lots of little hacks and tricks to really just, again, like layer your sound design, layer those things. And one of the things I like to do in the beginning of a lot of these videos now to keep and hook the viewer's attention is layer some sound design with like a little overlay transition. Okay, so if I open this up and I play this is just like a little film burn transition. I have a library of these that I keep on my hard drives and my servers and just on my computer in general. So I bring into every project, and this allows me to add another little bit of flair to my videos. So you can see here, if we go into our vertical edit window, yes. We can pull this up. And if we don't have a blend mode and we're at normal, and I pull this all the way up, geez, James, what are you doing here? And you play this back. Oh, thank you. Then you don't actually see what we want to see, okay? Because we have not blended this darkness out using a blend mode. So this allows you to create some cool texture, add some overlays to your videos. So if I come up here and I go to my blend mode, I can change this to screen, and that's going to screen out that background, or I can change it to something else. I mean, that's kind of cool. I'm going to take this hat off. Definitely hurting my head today a little bit. So no more Caddy Jim. He's just here doing his thing. So you can kind of play around with a lot of these blend modes. Most of the case, if you see black, you're going to screen it. If you see white, you are going to multiply it, or you're going to overlay it. Okay. So it just, again, trial and error with these things. I still think this is a little bit too hot. So what I might do is just drag the opacity down somewhere around here. And then I like to press P on my keyboard and add little handles so that you're not seeing the entire clip, you know, finding a space you like. And you know, that's actually a little too subtle in my opinion, but you're adding something to it just to, again, like keep the viewer's attention and try to bring them into your video right away, because obviously we know attention, we as filmmakers are attention seekers. We're trying to get people to watch our stuff, you know, and it's harder and harder to do that with so many amazing creators online. All right, so let's talk about color a little bit here. All right, so I want to actually just start a new sequence, and I want to show you kind of my process here. So the first thing I would do, 1080 by 1920. Again, I don't have to do this every time. There are presets, so sequence presets. So why don't we save this one as a preset? So 1080 by 1920. Let's do 2997. All right, sequence name, color lesson, sequence preset, and we're going to save this as a preset, and then we're going to name it. So I'm just going to name this Instagram Reel 9x16, and you can add a description. You can put whatever you want in here, but I'm just going to leave that blank and press OK. And then what we're going to do is add this. It'll load in a second here to our custom. Okay, Instagram Reel 9x16, and press OK. All right, so now every time we create a sequence, Command N, it's there. So we don't have to actually go into our settings and make that. So again, all these little things, all these little tricks are just ways to save you time and not have to worry about doing all this stuff before you get into creating something really, really cool. I'm a thirsty guy today. Gotta be hydrated. All right, so let's throw some clips in. And let's color grade a little bit. All right, so we're in color lesson. Did I go into the wrong? I think. Yep, we want to be 1080 by 1920. Okay. All right. I'm going to move this up here for a second. Again, you can drag all these anywhere around your timeline or anywhere around your project. So if you hover and you see these little purple lines, that's how you can kind of customize your space. Don't get intimidated if you mess everything up. All you're going to do is go to workspaces and then go to reset to saved layout, or just go in here to like editing or whatever is provided when you open up Premiere Pro. Okay. All right, footage. All right, so let's do that little trick we just saw. Shift O. Now we have our source window, page up. And I don't know, let's try this. I kind of like this because we're going to, and this is a color grading lesson at this point. We're just going to go through and we're going to color grade this clip to see, you know, the flexibility and the power of the color grading tools here inside of Premiere Pro and what you can get out of shooting a log profile. All right, so we're going to drag this into our timeline, drag and drop, keep those settings. Okay, that's one way to do it, or you can just press comma. It's another shortcut. All right, and the way that I know that is if you hover in here, insert, overwrite, a lot of those shortcuts already exist here inside of Premiere Pro. And again, if you wanted to change that, come up here to your keyboard shortcuts, type in insert, and you can see that that's where our shortcut is dedicated. Okay, so you can change it to whatever you want and then press OK. I like comma. All right. So because I shot this flipped, we're going to have to change the scale. So 50, and then we're going to go to -90. All righty. No questions. Quiet chat we got going on today. Quiet chat. I am here for everybody. I'm here for you guys. I really am. So please let me know. If not, I'm just going to keep doing stuff. Keep making it fun. Okay, another little tip. L on your keyboard. If you click it a couple times, this is going to speed through your clips. Space, J, same thing, but in reverse. And again, going back to those keyboard shortcuts, you can always adjust them, change them to your liking. All right, so in this case, let's just go to here. I'm going to press Command K. That's one of my shortcuts. And if you're watching, and we go Command K, where are we going here? You can kind of see where those are laid out. Here we go, add edit. Okay, so adding an edit is a little bit different than cutting or slicing. So when I add an edit, it's just a quick way for me to go down the timeline. I can kind of come in here, Command K, Command K, Command K, Command K, whatever. And let's say I want to remove all these things here, W. Okay, W is going to ripple delete everything that I've cut. Okay, so again, very quick way to just ripple delete, meaning basically instead of me coming in here and deleting and then closing this gap, I'm just, boom, I'm saving myself an extra step. I'm saving myself some time, which is great. Okay. All right, let's grade this clip here. Let's see what we got going on. So the first thing I like to do, there's a couple things you can do here. You can color grade the clip itself, which is an option. I don't like doing that though, because unless you're grading the clip before you start editing or doing anything. Okay, so if I were to like look at all the different clips now that I've kind of come in here and sliced up, you'd have to then go through and color grade, color correct every single one of those clips. Instead, because we shot all of this footage in the same lighting setup that we can control, it's better to just, at least in my opinion, to color correct and color grade the clip before you start doing the edit, or at the end you can do it using adjustment layers. So I'm going to show you both ways how to do that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, let's do adjustment layers first. So we're going to go up here. We're going to add an adjustment layer. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Adjustment layers, very powerful inside of Premiere Pro and really any Adobe program. They allow you, it's like a null object or again, adjustment layer inside of After Effects. This allows you to throw different effects and properties on top of your clips that you can adjust that aren't going to be embedded into the clip itself, right? So if we come over here and I'm going to rename this, let's do color correction. Color correction. All right. And I have my Lumetri scopes. Lumetri scopes. All right. And if you don't see what you're looking or what I'm looking at here on the screen, basically all you're going to do is go over to this wrench tool. This allows you to add different scopes, different waveforms. So you can have a histogram up here. If that confuses you, you can turn that off. You can have an RGB color. I like actually keeping all three of these up. Basically what this is it's a visual representation of the exposure and the color levels in your clip that you're selected. So in this case, on the right-hand side, we have this RGB color wheel. So just to like visually show you what that would do is if I adjust the saturation of this clip all the way up, let's even go to like 400 or 300, and I turn that off, you'll see that because the clip itself is a little bit warmer, that saturation is going to lean more to those reds and yellows. But if I wanted to, and this looks ridiculous, like no one's gonna crank that to 300, but if you move, we now can visually see these scopes doing things, right, and changing. And this is a really good exercise to understand and fully learn how to color your clips properly. Like professional colorists are way more experienced and way more advanced, but it sort of boils down to the same idea. They're using these visual representations to know your eye can play tricks on you, essentially, right? So if I just set this back to 100, it looks like so desaturated now when we pull this back. Okay, so the first thing I might want to do is on the left-hand side here, I have basically my highlights and my shadows, my lights and my darks. Okay, so if I bring the exposure up, you can see that now 100 at the top is where I'm basically losing information. Okay, I'm pulling this up and I have now, there's still information being retained there, which is incredible. If I pull the highlights down, okay, and then I pull the blacks down and I can crush the blacks until I see that harsh line. Because the second you hit 0, you're losing information, meaning it's going to look crushed when you export it. You're going to, you're going to blow out the highlights or you're going to underexpose those shadows. And the whole idea of filming in a log flat profile like this is to allow ourselves the most dynamic range we can for color grading, to give ourselves the best chance to just make something that really pops. Okay, so obviously this is like really bright to me. I personally like to keep things around sort of like 90 and 20. I crush the blacks a little bit more because I like that extra contrast. So what I'll do here is I'll bring the shadows down. Okay, highlights I think could come down a little bit more. And we need some contrast added, okay? So the thing, you can add contrast globally here. So if I drag this up, what the contrast is gonna do, again, it's so important to keep these scopes up. I mean, if you have an unbelievable eye, you don't have to, and you get sort of seasoned to it. But I personally like to keep the scopes up, especially on a big monitor like this, because I can see and know and have faith in these scopes that I'm exposing it properly and my eye's just not playing tricks on me. So in this case, contrast is also going to add saturation. It's going to add blacks. It's going to crush the blacks and it's going to bring those highlights up. That's essentially what contrast is doing. So if I go globally, again, you can do that here. But in this case, I actually want to show you how to use the curves. All right, so here's our curves. And if you've never opened this window, it's gotten just really, really intuitive and really good. A lot better than I think it used to be. So you can add these points along your curve layers. So down here, again, we have the blacks. Up here, we have the highlights or the whites. And then in the middle is our midtones. And right now, we're just adjusting the global contrast of the whole color. If we change, let me just do something to show you. So right now, if I pull this down, we're really only adjusting the darkness. We're just adjusting those blacks, okay? And if I add another point and I drag this up, now what we're doing is we're creating a brighter like midtone. The midtones being the skin color, the skin tone, my hands, those sort of like middle of the road midtones. And up here, this is our highlights. So we're adding contrast into the highlights. So this is a really, really great way to get that stylized, really nice, punchy look. I'm gonna drag this up a little bit and I'm gonna pull this down and let's pull this down as well. Okay, so you can toggle this on and off before and after. And I just think the curves is a much better way to add contrast. Let's say we want to maybe make the shadows a little bit warmer, okay? To do that, you can come in here and now you're gonna adjust. I have a lot of birds out there today. I get very easily distracted inside my office here. I'm right in front of a window, so I watch the world go by while I'm talking to you and editing video. It's a great way to be. Okay, So if I drag this down, if I drag this up, what you're doing is you're now adding warmth to your midtones. If I drag it down, you're pulling that warmth out, if that makes sense. You're pulling the reds out. So this is kind of cool. Now we're just pulling this down a little bit to create like a cooler look, okay? And this is very subtle. You don't want to go overboard because then it looks a little funky, okay? So now we're getting something that's looking pretty sweet. We can go back in here. I actually want to take these highlights down. Actually, let me bring those up. I want to take the midtones down a little bit more. And each time I'm doing this, notice you're adding contrast, so it can get a little bit crazy. It can end up looking a little bit too punchy in certain cases. Before, after. And the whole thing, here's our before, here's our after. And this is just our color correction. I'm adding a little bit of style to it as well to really showcase this. But you can see everything is still within that 100 and 0 window. We're not losing information. It is a little bit hot here highlight-wise, but we're going to fix that. And everything is looking pretty nicely exposed, all right? And that comes from shooting it at the right exposure and then shooting it in a log profile. In this case, I'm on a Canon R5 and I was shooting a C-Log 3. But if you're using a Sony or a Fuji or a Nikon, who uses Nikon anymore? But if you're using any of those things, that's essentially what you would be doing. Okay, and I actually think this could come even lower. Now we're really getting somewhere. And then I'm gonna come back up here and I'm gonna adjust my highlights. So I'm constantly playing with these two kind of parameters and tools together, before and after. And right now it's looking a little bit green for me. So let's see what we got going on here. I'm just gonna slowly check on our chat, make sure everybody's doing nice. We got about another 15 minutes left here, I think. 15 minutes left. Umacorn, what's up? I knew someone was going to chime in on the Nikon situation. You gotta. I mean, hey, look, to each his own. I used to use Nikon back in the day. Can't say I have in a long time. I've been a Canon guy, pretty tried and true, just because I've invested time in a lot of the lenses and a lot of the UI of it is something I'm very used to. And I think that's the important thing, is just if you find the tool and the system that works, keep on going. But no knock on Sony. They're amazing. And I have used plenty of other cameras myself. All right, so because I've adjusted some of those highlights, I'm going to bring the exposure just down a little bit. Boom, here and before. And now I feel like we're missing some of that saturation. All right, so I'm 120. So again, now if I crank this, you can see that inside of that little like hexagonal RGB window, that looks just bad. Let's just be honest, okay? But I want to just bring the saturation up a little bit more to where it looks normal. And I think it could use a little cool down. So if I cool this down, you'll see that now my saturation window, up here on the left-hand side, is visually being represented on what I'm doing and how I'm changing this. So again, you can get creative once you figure out how to understand this whole Lumetri scope system. But this is, again, I can't stress this enough, such a great way to start and to understand color and how that affects your video here. Okay. All right. So we're going to keep going down here. Green. Let's see. Let's just play around with this. I don't know. Let's just zoom. Let's pull this down. No, green, I think we're good. This looks pretty sweet. So here's our blue. Again, so we're adding blue to the shadows. We're adding blue to the midtones. We're adding blue to the highlights, okay? We're pulling blue out of it, which in turn is giving us more green. All right, so that's how these colors work. That's how they're working. And I actually like this little like warmth going on down here. We're creating something pretty sweet. All right, so there is some green going on, but all I'm gonna do to change that little tint here is go back up to my basic correction and move this over to the magenta. And let's bring the highlights down even more. All right, so before and after. All right, so that's looking pretty nice. Let's say we want to add even more to that underneath your creative tab. And this is all just sort of in the color correction stage. You can adjust the shadow tint and the highlight tint globally. So essentially what we just did in the curves, we're going to come up here and I'm going to hold shift to really crank it to show you what I mean. You can now adjust, the whole thing becomes cooler. you're adding like a little bit of very stylized in this case. But if you want micro adjustments, don't hold shift. Just pull everything to where that color, maybe that like warmth you want. Okay, so for this, I just want the shadows maybe to be a little cooler. And I want the highlights to be a little warmer. That's too warm. Let's just go up a little. Okay, so this is subtle here, before and after. You can kind of see it, kind of see what I'm looking at here. And then under curves, this is all inside of Premiere Pro. I really have to give it up for them. Like I have, color graded sort of in different programs, but I really enjoy the flexibility that I have inside of Premiere, especially just not having to go and export it to a different project and then bring it back in. All this has to do with time that you want to spend on your videos. So let's say what I want to do here is I want to take the green and I want to maybe pull the saturation out of that a little bit. Okay, so you have now your hue, saturation, curves, hue, luma. Luma is the brightness level of those colors. So for instance, if I click my little eyedropper tool on the luma, I want to pull this tone here and I want to bring that down a little bit, just the highlights on my skin, nothing else. All right, so to do that, if I pull this down, you can kind of see that's pretty bad. You want to be very subtle with it. All right, so we're just going to pull this down to just, pull some of those highlights back out of my skin. And then I want to actually change the hue of my skin because right now it seems a little red. All right, and so a lot of the times when you're creating that contrast, that saturation, at least my skin tone, Premiere recognizes that more as red. And our skin is naturally a little bit more on like the orange, at least in my case. So what I want to do is I want to take this red sample on my finger. Let's zoom myself in here to 100. H is going to allow me to move this around. And then I'm going to take the same thing and I'm going to sample where I think that redness needs to become a little, just the slightest bit orange. All right, so if I show you, that is now sampling my entire hand. And we don't want that. We don't want the green. We don't want the purple. All we want is just the littlest amount to remove and pull that red out of my skin. Okay, so if I click that on and off, that has done a lot. You can see, I don't know, it might be hard to see on the stream. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on that. And please do not judge the weird calluses and just hangnails on my finger. So if you're joining us, just, I haven't gotten a manicure in a while, guys. So let's just ignore that. All right, so you see my skin, that's before and that's the after. Much more natural and what we're looking for. Okay, so that's something that I do on every one of my clips when I'm color correcting specifically. All right, so if I go back to my top, here's the before and here is the after. Let's take the saturation down on our green here. If you bring that up, let's just pull that out a little bit. And maybe I want the hue of that to change as well. Maybe I want the hue to be more on like the warmer side or the cooler green side. Okay, so now we go from here to there. Again, very subtle. Boom. All right, so let's say we're happy with that as our color correction. In here, we kind of added more style to it, so I would hardly say that this is just correction. Correction would really be highlight, shadows, exposure. So I kind of combine the two together just while we're going through everything. And I don't know, it's looking pretty sweet. What do you guys think? Let's see, let's actually turn the saturation to like 105 because what I want to do is I want to add a little creative LUT here. So bear with me. So I have a couple LUTs that are already saved. I have mine that I've created in the office. So if I add that, that is going to be insanely intense because we've already created all of our adjustments. Okay, but what I'm going to do, let's go back here, is I'm going to duplicate this. So I have my color correction at the bottom. I'm going to rename this. We're going to call this LUT. Okay, and then I'm going to add that LUT again, and I'm going to really take that creative intensity way down. Okay, so we're going to just change this like 10. That is really crazy. What is happening there? Oh, you know what? The reason I did that is because I duplicated this, so all the features got above. We want a new adjustment layer. Silly James. Okay, and we're going to drag this out so that there's no color on this layer at all. All we're doing is using this for the creative LUT that we want to add. Rename. All right, guys, and please, questions. I don't think I got many questions today, so I've been just going through this, but I got about 5 minutes left here, 6 minutes left on a Friday. So if you're dying to know something, now is the time. Now is the time. All right, so seeing a couple of these clips, I want to go back into my curves. You know, you can see that I took a little bit of that down. I don't know if I love the tint here. Okay, but we're just gonna roll with it. All right, so the top, creative, we're gonna add our LUT. Again, very intense. Let's take it to 10. All right, so before and after, and there's a little bit of a style. Maybe we go to like 20. All right, so now we have our LUT on top. We have our color correction, okay? And none of that is being applied to the actual clip itself. We're using adjustment layers to do this. Reason being is now I can basically edit my entire video like I did here. And then at the end of the edit, I can just drag those adjustment layers on and put those at the top of my timeline so that I can continuously turn them on and off. And then you can go in and continue to make adjustments as you see fit. You know, like, so right now looking at this, like this is pretty stylized, honestly. I'm not in love with it just yet, but I'm gonna actually just turn that down. A couple ways you could do that. Drag this handle down, or come in here and disable it. So if it's dark, now it's disabled. So now the only thing that we've put on this is one LUT, okay? And it's at 20, sort of the intensity's at 20, but if I go to 100, now I have something that looks pretty nice, and then I can come back in here and I can readjust things accordingly. All right, so you just can play around with all these things. Let's go boom, boom, boom. All right, so that's pretty stylized. So let's say I'm digging what we got going on here. I'm digging this whole setup. Okay, let's just hide this. And I want to turn this into its own LUT. All right, we're going to go up here, and all you're going to do, this little like pancake stack, I don't know how we want to refer to that as, but a stack here, is you're going to create your own LUT. So let's say we're happy with this look, even though I'm like not that happy with it. Let's see. Let's go over here. It needs a little more magenta. Could use a little some. All right, it's okay. But we're gonna save it as a LUT, okay, for future videos. Come up here, export or save preset, export cube. Okay, a cube LUT. And then you're gonna go to wherever you have these things saved, and you're gonna add your LUT. So we're gonna call this like, I don't know, we're gonna call this Green Masters because I wore a Masters hat and that's a good name for it. Press save. Okay, then what you're gonna do is anytime you're inside of Premiere Pro, you're gonna go to Browse. Here's your LUT saved. Bring that in. Okay, we just added it basically to the other clip. We're gonna hide this. We're gonna take this. We're gonna go in here. It's so easy to create these, honestly. Like, it should not be intimidating at all. You can create the style you want. And then again, going back to all my sort of initial things I've talked about with branding and style and consistency, this is just another way to make sure you have a consistent look and feel. You know, like if I pull up my Instagram account here, a lot of even though I'm shooting in different parts of my office, the look is the same. The color is the same, right? That nice contrasty look is what we're looking, a lot of looks, is what we're wanting to get out of our final color, and creating your own LUTs will really help that. Okay, so go in here to Browse, and then we're gonna add our Green Masters cube. Boom, there's our LUT ready to go, and it's right here, or it will be right here when you save it inside of your creative tab, all right? And so you can continue to add those things as you see fit. All right, I was kind of glad that we got into this a little bit today, because most of the time when I'm on these streams, I don't really have enough time to actually go through a lot of the color here. Down here at the bottom, you know, you have different features as well, midtones, highlights, shadows, so it just keeps going. It keeps on going. You can change colors, but typically what I like to do is stay here in the basic correction, creative to add those final touches, and the curves, and that's a really, really great way to, you know, start to build the look that you're going for. All right, so you can see here, very kind of a similar look. It's a little bit more subtle, but that's my final look that we got for you today. All right, Umacorn, question as we wrap up here. How much time do you usually spend on color? Totally depends on the project. Sometimes it might be a half a day. Sometimes it might be a full day. Other times it's a quick project. Slap a LUT on there, slap a correction, and you're good to go. Can you save a color preset also for no vlog shoots? Save a color. I'm not sure I understand the question on that one, Wade. No log shoots? No vlog shoots? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. You can save, tons of different presets. It doesn't just have to be that one. So not sure if I answered the question on that one, but vlog. I'm not sure what vlog is. Is vlog just another log profile for a camera that I'm not aware of? That's interesting. Yeah. I'm sure you could. You absolutely could. I mean, it doesn't have to be C-Log. It doesn't have to be Canon or say just whatever flat profile you're shooting with is how you can create these things. All right, everyone. I think that's it for me. Honestly, I got a couple questions right here at the end of everything, but I think I answered them. And again, I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me today. Again, very chill, relaxed Friday. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me on the community recap. Again, like I mentioned earlier, please reach out if you have any questions. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. I am always on here on Adobe Live watching other creatives in the community. I believe there's a bunch more community recap streams coming up. So if you have questions for those creators, stick around. Get on Behance. Make sure to subscribe to the Adobe Live YouTube channel. All these resources will be on there with some starter files, as I mentioned, of the past month of my weekly creative challenge. And that being said, if there's no other questions, I got to dip out of here. Thank you, Robert, Wade, Umacorn, the whole gang. It's been a pleasure, as always. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy, and I will hope to see you soon. Oops. Where is my...